Good morning, fans, on this very cold morning in Manchester. Not that you'd know that listening to this, but it is, for content, it is, hang on, let's see, 10 degrees currently out there. Now, this episode is inspired by today. Let's see if we can get through it without being interrupted. Now, many times during the service work that I've done, people have asked, "Driver, can you turn your heating on? It's really cold." Well, short answer to that is no. Now, as a passenger, a cold bus is an inconvenience for a few hours, for, well, maximum of maybe an hour, 20 minutes as you go here, there, and everywhere, or wherever you want to go. But on a morning like it was this morning, when I got in my car at 4 o'clock to come to work, and it's all iced over, there's a real big pain for drivers as well. In depots that you're unlucky that you have to store your vehicles outside, for example, where I was, the hybrids were stored outside. There's nothing worse than getting to that in the morning, looking at your running board, knowing that you're on it for 5 hours, and you're about to freeze you off. Now, the heating inside of buses, especially in the saloon, is not governed by the driver. It is governed by a thermostat. That thermostat inside the vehicle measures the temperature and will blow hot air into the vehicle until the temperature has reached what the thermostat is set to, similar to your house. Us as drivers have no control over changing that thermostat, unfortunately. Nor do we have the ability to even turn the fans off. So in the summer, when it's blowing hot air, we can't turn it off, so you're going to fry. In winter, when it's blowing cold air, we can't turn it off, so you're going to freeze. Now, you see it quite a bit on Twitter, people complaining that they've got on the 7 o'clock bus, say, and it's freezing. Why don't you turn the heating on? Well, simple answer to this: a bus can take up to 2 hours to start to warm up, and you'd think, but the engine's running all the time, surely it gets warm. Well, you'd think so. However, the engine has to warm the water up, or the coolant, which locally at the back is perfectly fine. But then all the pipes run on the outside of the vehicle underneath. So by the time the coolant reaches the front of the vehicle, it's gone cold because the pipes are cold. So it takes so long to warm up because the coolant has to heat the pipes as well. And then it's got several splits it does to go feed the saloon, the demisters, etc. So that's why at least the older vehicles take a long time to heat up. The MMCs have a different system. I'm not too sure what's different about it, but it does mean you get hot air quite quickly. But for those unfortunately enough to live in the middle of nowhere, or in a town that hasn't quite got the low emissions yet, and you've got all the old vehicles, unfortunately, you are going to freeze. Normally, by the time a driver's finished his first stint, excuse me, of around maybe 3 hours, 4 hours, the bus might just be getting warm. Which is why you'll see drivers in the morning sporting a lovely woolly hat and their big coat on. Because they are absolutely freezing in the cab. You as passengers have the ability that you're only on it maybe for 20 minutes, half an hour. As I say, an hour really at the max in Manchester on any of the routes, unless you get stuck in traffic. We've got to sit there for hours on end, freezing. Granted, when they normally do warm up, they normally get nice and warm very quickly and easily. Some vehicles warm up better than others. Now, to get cold air in the summer, what they do, and it can cause a few issues, is they'll turn the heating taps off at the rear of the vehicle. That is engineering will. As a driver, we ain't supposed to touch these heating taps, but many drivers that might listen to this will think, well, yeah, I've done that. I've done it myself plenty of times. Now, heating taps in the winter can get turned off if, say, it's had a pipe burst. And so they can get it back to the yard, back to the depot yard quickly and easily without having to put loads of coolant back in it, because they only carry a fine amount when they come out to a breakdown. They will shut the demister and saloon heater taps off, and then they've only got to fill the engine requirement to get it back. So what then happens in the winter is, as you move from summer to winter, either the taps haven't been turned on yet because no one's reported the bus as being cold, or they've been turned off because of a breakdown and no one's realised because it's been warm anyway. Now, as drivers, because as I said before, we're not meant to and supposed to touch these taps, there's nothing we can do out on the road. You will see, as I say, some drivers open the bonnet, turn the taps, and then they get warm. The problem that then can cause though is if it's had a coolant leak and they've only filled enough coolant to fill the engine circuit up, and they've not and all the coolant's been lost out of the heater system, the demisters in the saloon, there's not enough water in the bus any longer to support both systems running, which then, as you can see, will cause an issue. The bus will get very warm, but the coolant will get quite cold, and then eventually you end up with the alarm on telling you you're overheating or you've got low coolant, when in true fact you really don't. It's just there's not enough in it to support both systems. As I say, in the summer they turn them off so you get cold air in the saloon, but there's only so much cold air that it can actually be blown in. Most vehicles in the UK, for bus-wise, don't have aircon. The reason for that is fuel efficiency, and it's an expensive optional extra to maintain for the 1 day a year we have sun. So we won't get aircon on most vehicles. Some operators do specify aircon, they do get it. Some will get vehicles second hand with aircon, but they won't bother to maintain it because it's expensive, so they'll just pull the fuse on it, so it can't be used. The rules dictate around maintenance of aircon systems is as long as the vehicle has opening windows, the aircon system doesn't need to work. If the vehicle does not have opening windows, the aircon must blow. Doesn't specify blow warm, blow cold, it just must blow air, known as forced air induction. Now, the MMCs have an extraction fan both upstairs and downstairs, and the way this works is when the vehicle is hot or cold in the morning, that fan will turn on, and that's typically what you'll hear as a passenger, is the extraction fan whirling away. Sometimes it sounds like a jackhammer because it gets bits of dust on it and it upsets the balance of the fan, so it can sound like either a plane taking off or a jackhammer. What that is actually doing is it's pulling the air that is either cold or warm out of the vehicle, so then it can induct new air into the vehicle which is going to be warmer or colder. So that's probably why they are quite efficient at running. But as I say, many people complain to the driver or on Twitter, Facebook, whatever, that they got on such a bus and it's freezing cold. Unfortunately, that's just part of busing. And I'd advise, if you're going to get a bus early hours of the morning on a cold morning in winter, take a few extra layers. You're going to need them. There's nothing we can do about it. There really isn't, and people don't like the honest truth. I know these podcasts are doing okay at the moment. They're doing much better over on YouTube, where you can watch them on there as well. I say watching, you can listen to them, but you get more views. And people won't like some of the answers I come up with, and it's very clear in the statistics that the videos have. They don't like the answers, but I want to also bring across in these blogs that blogs and podcasts the truth about things. And as I say, the truth is drivers can't do anything about it. I had in the middle of summer a MAN lowliner. The outside temperature was like 26 degrees. It was boiling, you know. I don't wear shorts, I'm there in my shorts, absolutely cooking. Short shirt, cooking. And the lowliner I had, you couldn't turn the heating off. And it was blowing warm air into the saloon. And people were coming up to me, look, you need to turn it off. Well, the only way I'm going to turn it off is if I turn the bus off. And then you won't go anywhere. So I'm very sorry, but you're just going to have to put up with it. And oh boy, it was roasting. Absolutely roasting. I got on the radio and I was like, look, I know we're not supposed to touch the taps. I said, but is there taps anywhere on this vehicle to turn this heating off? I said, because passengers are complaining, passengers feeling faint on the vehicle because it's so warm on here. I said, it's just not serviceable in this heat to have the heating on. And they went away, asked the engineer, and he went, no, the taps have been removed. In other words, they've leaked, so they've removed them. Because on the lowliners, the taps used to be underneath the seats. Used to be one either by the driver's seat or by the front row seats on whichever side the heating was on. If it was on both sides, there'd be a tap on either side. And they'd removed them. And I was like, this is ridiculous. Luckily, it's my last. I only had one trip on it. It's probably one of the only times I drove a single decker out of the main garage I was based out of. And I loved the lowliners, they were great buses, but my Lord in heaven, was it warm on that day on that vehicle. And I'm just sat there thinking, sweating cobwebs, thinking, I'm roasting, they're roasting, let me get out, you know. And you can't drive with the doors open, you can't sit with the doors open with the big companies, so it's just, it is absolutely boiling, unpleasant. But that's the time when it was like too much for even me, the driver, and I said something about it, and that's all I could do. And and they gave me the answer, and there was nothing they could do. They're not going to send an engineer out if there's no taps to turn off anyway. So it was just a lumpit one. But as I say, buses do take up to 2 hours to get warm. And obviously the pipes underneath the vehicle cool down very quickly. So on cold days, even if the bus has just been in the depot for an hour, it can take up to another then half an hour for the vehicle to warm back up. The only reason it doesn't take as long is because obviously the coolant inside the engine is warm already, so as soon as that starts circulating, it's warming the vehicle back up. So yeah, but hey ho. But I hope you found this very short podcast interesting and informative, which is what I aim to do. If you've got any suggestions about anything you'd want answers to or discussed here, put it in the comments down below, or contact us at admin@mikemussies.com, and I will try to feature it in an episode. Thank you so much for watching. See, that's how much I'm in YouTube, man. Thank you for listening. As always, make sure you do subscribe or press the follow button, whatever it is on podcasts, and I'll see you out on the road.